Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you'd already know that the title of tonight's show is A Broken Promise. And that can come about in a little while, maybe in a month or 2 or 3 months, sometime over the summer, or possibly during the holidays, maybe by November or December or so. And that broken promise could sort of upset the apple cart in a lot of people's lives. So let's just let's make a connection between now and then. And that is because we start off beautifully this week with 5 planets in the constructive, hardworking, practical earth signs, and they're all trining each other. A lot of planets have moved out of Aries, and now they are in Taurus. So now the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Uranus are all in Taurus. That's 4 planets, a stellium. And it is a fixed financial sign, and Pluto in Capricorn is trining all the 4 planets in Taurus, and together those 5 planets are trining the sign of Virgo as well. So it's all systems go as far as business is concerned, or government policies and procedures. There can be people that are saying, hey, let's trim our budgets, let's get down to making up for the money that we lost last year, and let's try to zoom ahead. So they can certainly be well aspected to do that. And they can be aided by the fact that there are another 3 planets in the air signs, and they are all trining each other. So Mars is at the critical 29th degree of Gemini today. In fact, it's going to leave and go into Cancer tomorrow, but it's at that critical degree today, and it is trining Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius. And Jupiter is almost exactly trine that Mars as well. And so there can be a lot of cleverly planned advertising going on, and it can have targeted messages that are supposed to reach a certain audience and sort of sell people on some great idea. It can certainly be a great idea that somebody who is head of a large corporation or a government agency is thinking of, because the 5 planets in earth signs can be complementary to the 3 planets that are in the air signs. So those things can be going on in what most power brokers would think of as a very productive way. However, despite that, despite the fact that there are some rather cleverly planned moves by power brokers right now to push their agenda forward, the result could be a broken promise. And why is that? Because this broken promise may not involve just you and me. I don't think it's a personal promise. I think it has something to do with business. And so I think it could be sort of a big broken promise. And the reason why is that today we have 7 planets in a harsh T-cross among the fixed signs. Well, first of all, we know fixed signs don't budge. So they're not willing to compromise in any way. And it begins with those 4 planets in Taurus: the Sun, Mercury, Venus, which is Taurus's own ruler, and Uranus, that planet of sudden volatility and surprising change, are all there, and they are squaring the gentle moon in Leo today, and they are also squaring Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius. That's the 7 planets that actually are spending a lot of time challenging each other. So I think that the result is going to be a broken promise sooner or later. And so that could happen in, say, June or July, or it might happen around the holidays, around November or December. And those would be periods when Mars is in Leo. It's a malefic planet. It would be opposing another malefic planet, Saturn, in Aquarius, and squaring Uranus in Taurus. When all three malefic planets are at war with each other, that can create a lot of havoc. However, let's look a little more deeply at that, and we'll ask ourselves, what is the broken promise really going to be about? Well, the 7 planets are all pouring their frustration into the one empty fixed sign, and that is Scorpio. So Scorpio has the moon in Leo squaring it, Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius squaring it, and all 4 planets in Taurus opposing it. And so it simply means that that broken promise could have something to do with the things that Scorpio rules, because Scorpio is taking a pretty big hit right now. Scorpio is another fixed financial sign, and it rules credit, debt, taxes, loans, insurance proceeds, inheritance, grants, and money coming in from any other source. But remember, the sign is being sorely challenged at the moment. On top of that, we know that that broken promise has something to do with the things that Scorpio rules. But on top of that, Mars is at that critical 29th degree of Gemini today. Gemini rules communication. I think the power brokers are thinking they better get their message across right now so they can be trying extra hard. And so you shouldn't believe everything that you hear. But tomorrow, Mars will leave Gemini and it will go into Cancer, which is the sun sign of the United States. And then it will begin to oppose Pluto, which is in Capricorn. Mars and Pluto are the rulers of Scorpio, and they are going to be in opposition to each other. And that's on top of the 7 planets that are already bothering the sign of Scorpio. So I think that the broken promise is going to be about money. And it will be, I think, about debt. And so a broken promise could occur maybe in yours and my life, but I don't think that's where the problem's really coming from. I think it's a bigger problem, and it's coming from a bigger entity. And that is because I'm pretty sure that if a investment house has overextended itself, or a bank can't quite cover all its loans, or some sort of hedge fund goes broke, then there could be a broken promise because they can't recoup their losses. And so, the debt is too much, and the debt cannot be repaid. If a debt occurs that cannot be repaid, let's say it's a whole country that has spent so much money that its debt is much higher than its resources or income, and then what happens? So there's got to be a broken promise somewhere, because there's a disconnect, a financial disconnect. And I think it's going to be about debt. So I think that this is a time when, even if you have to work 2 jobs, this is not the year to be in debt. This is not the year to take a gamble. And so it's very important to pay down your debts, because a person who doesn't have debt isn't going to get challenged anywhere, because they don't owe anybody anything. And that is what you should be aiming for. I know that's hard to do for some people, but this is a year when a broken promise, either yours or somebody else's, is going to have a ripple effect on a lot of people. And that could really hurt after a while. And so this is a time, hopefully, when somehow you can get rid of debt so that the broken promise doesn't occur to you. All right, what does it mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. you could be wondering what's happened, Aries. Maybe it's good that nothing is happening right now for you, since all the planets in your sign that were there under the new moon that you had on the 12th have now moved into Taurus. And they're joining Uranus there. So there are 4 planets right ahead of your sun sign, Aries. That could mean that you have your mind on something pretty pricey, rather expensive, that you would just love to have because Venus is in that sign. Well, it could involve investments, but just remember this is a time now pretty much for the whole rest of the year to stay out of debt. And believe me, even if you had the money to buy something, it may be better if you wait until next year to do that. For one thing, inflation is going to rise. Have you noticed that when you go to the grocery store? Everything is costing more money, and that is the gas that you buy to get to the grocery store. Okay, so just our basic expenses are going up. And so, Aries, maybe this is a good time for you to take a pause since there are no planets in your sign, and just think about your new beginning and how you may be able to trim the costs of it just a little bit to fit in your budget a little bit better. Maybe all of us could do that. One really good way to do that is to take on a partner. And that way you can split the costs, and that way it isn't so expensive. So you might think about that, because the lovely moon in Leo is trining your sun, Aries. And so there can be some very nice person, perhaps a woman around, that is thinking the world of you, but that doesn't mean you have to spend your last dollar on them or anything. It may be that some very nice person is attracted to you. And so, think of a million things you can do that don't cost a lot of money. And how about spending the whole summer doing them, Aries? That way you don't have to worry about debt so much. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, remember I said there are 5 planets in the Earth sign. So there's 4 planets in your sign, Taurus, and they are all being trined by Pluto in Capricorn. And together those 5 planets are trining the sign of Virgo as well. Well, you certainly want to get business underway, don't you, Taurus? Your sign is a financial sign, and it rules investments. It does not rule debt. And so this is a hint, Taurus, you can't afford to be in debt this year. And the reason why is because you could be sitting real pretty right now with these 4 planets in your sign, and they have backup. Pluto is backing them up. But how long can that last? Some of them are going to move on. So you really have to think carefully, Taurus, about how much you can afford to hang on to. In other words, if you have investments that are perhaps rising in value, but you also have bills and debts that are sort of going up because the cost of everything is going up now, maybe this is a better time for you to trim the investments, sell them and trim a little bit, and really trim that debt instead, Taurus, because it's going to hurt you if you get over your head financially. And so this is a good time pretty much for the whole rest of the year for you to think of paying as you go. And that way you pretty much own it all the whole way. And if you don't have debt, you don't owe anybody anything. So think about that, Taurus, because there will come a time in the middle of June and in July when Mars goes into Leo and squares Uranus in your sign and opposes Saturn in Aquarius. Oh, that's going to promote a lot of gridlock and tension, and it will be financial tension. So that could threaten the future, and I'm just suggesting that, put yourself in a more liquid position so that your future is not threatened, Taurus. Just be careful about that if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Gemini. Mars is at the 29th degree of fate in your sign. That means, Gemini, it's now or never. Your sign rules easy transitional change, communication. It rules buying and selling. It rules advertising, journalism, and it rules temporary or part-time efforts. You have got to decide if you are going to make a new start and how much time you're going to put into it. And since there are 4 planets in Taurus right behind your sun sign, and they're very good planets, including your own ruler, Mercury, I think you have to ask yourself, since Taurus is a financial sign, not just how much time and effort you want to put into a new beginning, but how much do you want to pay for it, Gemini? How much of the investment is going to be your own financial investment, or is there a possibility that you could attract partners that could work with you in one way or another and therefore keep the costs a little bit lower? So you have to decide, is everything going to be your way, Gemini, or are you going to sort of settle down a little bit and look at the debt side of things and the cost side of things? And if you think there's a threat there, I would handle that first. If it's a problem, handle that first. And that's why some people should work 2 jobs right now in order to pay down their debt. Because when you pay down debt, you are really heading for your own freedom. And freedom from debt is freedom for a lot of things. And so that's what you need to decide. And it's sort of now or never, Gemini, as far as what you want to do about the money and your time. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, this is a time when there are so many planets in the earth signs, 5 of them, and in the air signs, another 3, that's 8 out of the 10 planets right now, that you may feel as if you're sort of sitting on the sidelines right now and sort of watching everybody else and seeing what they're doing, but you're not exactly involved in what they're doing right now. Okay, so if you're taking a little time out, what's wrong with that? Cancer, maybe it's good that you step back right now. And the reason why is there's only 1 planet in a water sign right now, but it's a good one. It's Neptune, which is in Pisces, and it's trining your sun sign. And the moon, your own ruler, is in Leo, right ahead of your sun sign. So I would say that you probably do not have your mind on your own needs, Cancer, but you could have your mind on the needs of children or of lovers, or something to do with sports or the entertainment field, or some sort of leadership position, or some sort of team effort. You could be thinking about all of those things, but I would say it sort of pays you to just wait and see what other people do right now. And that's because there's not a lot of strength in the water signs at the moment. And so the planets in Taurus, all 4 of them, sextile your sun. But Mars is coming into your sun sign tomorrow. And when Mars comes into your sun sign, it is going to oppose Pluto in Capricorn. And that simply means that sooner or later this year, push is going to come to shove regarding a broken promise that could involve a debt that cannot be repaid. It maybe cannot be repaid in a timely manner, or maybe it can't be repaid because the money's gone. And I don't know. But you need to sort of limit your overhead or your costs right now. Keep life simple, Cancer. And if you have any debt, try to pay it down. But I would say this, if you expand in some way right now, it could be a little too expensive for you. So you could still do that if you could just take it maybe in smaller doses or smaller steps, ones that you can afford a little more easily. So you might try that. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, this is a time, Leo, when you can be looking at some sort of expensive investment, or you could possibly be looking at an investment that has fallen in value, and so you may not have the funds that you thought you could draw on, and that's not your fault, Leo. There are 4 planets in Taurus. The Sun and Mercury, Venus, and Uranus are all squaring the moon in your sign. When the sun and the moon square or oppose each other, that indicates indecision or confusion. So there is a financial matter, Leo, that you are either undecided about or confused about, and that can be marring your vision of a perfect future, because Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, which rules the future, are also opposing that moon in your sign. When Saturn and the moon oppose each other, the moon rules mothers and Saturn rules fathers. It means parents are not getting along. I would say that power brokers are not getting along. And that is because each one of them thinks that no one should listen to anybody but them. And so there's a lot of egos on the line right now. And Leo, just don't let yours be one of them. Because, you know, the moon is a gentle planet. It's not going to be in your sign much longer. It only takes 2.5 days for it to get through a whole sign. So I would say that this is a time when you may be in a sort of a quandary about what to do about a financial matter or the cost of something. I would say, Leo, that the cost is too high at the time. But if there is a broken promise around somewhere, maybe someday it will benefit you, particularly if the price comes down on something. We could be looking at lower prices later this year. I know that everybody is saying inflation is going to go through the roof. But if there is a debt that cannot be repaid, and then that is, and there is some punishment for that inflicted upon whoever can't repay the debt, then their assets may, the value of their assets may tumble and become more affordable. And perhaps that is when you can sort of step in and buy something, Leo. But I would say right now, I wouldn't do that. Keep your money, Leo. You are going to need it. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when you've really got your mind on business. It could be the healthcare field too, because that's what your sign rules. But it also rules anybody who's in a service occupation. Virgo rules teaching, nursing, social work, firemen, policemen, public servants of all kinds, or volunteers in community efforts. And so you should be right in your element right now, Virgo, because those 4 planets in Taurus are all trining your sun, and so is Pluto in Capricorn. You have 5 planets, half of all the planets in the heaven, trining your sun, Virgo. And one of them is your ruler, Mercury, that's in Taurus. This is just an absolutely excellent time for you to concentrate on work and on your health, which should have been improving by now. You could maybe be seeing some pretty good improvement in your health. And this could be in your mental health, because Virgo is a mental sign. So your attitude about some things could be certainly more cheerful and improving right now, Virgo. And there can be some good money coming your way. It might be because you sell an asset that has risen in value. It might also be that there is just some money coming your way from something you have sold, or even from a service that you have performed for someone and they're grateful, so they, give you a little extra for that. That would be nice. There's also the possibility that you could be close to retirement. And with Pluto in Capricorn trining your sun, along with all the planets in Taurus trining your sun, you could get some good news about your investment portfolio too. So I would certainly stick to business right now. Generally, Virgos don't have a lot of debt, but if you do have any debt, Virgo, this is the time to pay it off. And do that first, because no debt means a lot of freedom, and I'm sure you'd like that. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time when I think that you can certainly benefit from a sort of a do or die moment now. And that is because Mars is in Gemini at the fateful 29th degree, and it is trining the 29th degree of your sign, Libra. And Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius are also trining your sun. It may not be you, Libra, but it can be somebody who is a younger person who has got to decide what they want to do. And they may not necessarily want to talk to you about it. They just want to sort of zoom into their future. And they have to decide how to do that, or who to talk to, or how to make an easy transitional change. You could help them with that if you wanted to, Libra, but there is the possibility that if you're going to help them, maybe you should let them just try something on their own first, and then if a problem develops, you can be the person that helps solve the problem. But by standing back and letting them try something new and go on their way themselves, they can gain confidence in themselves about doing that without you doing anything. And maybe that's a good idea, Libra, because, you know, every little bird has to fly sooner or later, and there's nothing wrong with that. And besides, you have better things that you need to think about, because tomorrow when Mars goes into Cancer and opposes Pluto in Capricorn, both of those planets, which are the rulers of Scorpio, are going to square your sun, Libra. And that simply means that there is going to be some pressure put on you, some financial pressure put on you. Now it is tax time, and Scorpio rules taxes, so maybe that is something that could involve some sort of broken promise or debt that has to be repaid in one way or another. So I would say this is not a time to go overboard with your expenses. Instead of having rising expenses, try to cut them down to size, Libra, because you may need a few extra dollars in the months to come. And I'm not saying that you would necessarily break a promise about something that has to be repaid, but what if somebody did that to you and didn't repay you? Where would that put you? So you have to sort of cut down if you can, and then just hold on to your own money and wait and see what other people do. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Scorpio. This is a time when you can be feeling as if you're getting hit from all sides, Scorpio, because that is what's happening to your sun sign. 7 planets, the moon in Leo, Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, and all 4 planets in Taurus, which are opposing your sun. All of those planets are challenging your sign, Scorpio. So it looks to me like you have got a financial problem, or I would say a conundrum on your mind. And that doesn't mean you're broke or anything, Scorpio. What it means is that other people are doing things with their money over which you have no control, but the outcome of their actions could be quite challenging to you right now, either because you don't have the authority to stop them. All you can do is stand back and watch them do something. Even if they're making a mistake, you may not be able to do anything about it. And also, when Mars goes into Cancer tomorrow, it will trine your sun, but it's going to oppose Pluto and Capricorn at the same time. And for the whole rest of the year, Scorpio, you have to be very careful with your money. And the whole idea is, first, pay down debt. Once you are debt-free, you're really free, okay? Nobody can come after you if you don't owe them anything. And then the other thing is that I think that you need to conserve your resources. So you could do that by cutting your budget a little bit. You could do that by saving more money. Whatever it is, if you conserve your resources for the whole rest of the year, Scorpio, and delay expensive purchases, you are going to be in 7th heaven by 2022, because Jupiter is going to go into Pisces in 2022, and it will be trining your sun and the Cancer sun. So 2022 is going to be a good year for you, Scorpio. That's why I'm telling you, shut down your activities that have anything to do with spending extra money right now and pay off your debt so that you can prepare yourself for a really good year next year. Okay, what does it mean to Sagittarius? Sagittarius. The moon in Leo is trining your sun today, which is very nice. It means you could certainly meet a very nice woman, because the moon rules women, or else there can be a nice invitation to a home, or something involving children, or fun, summer fun of some kind. And you could be involved in that, Sagittarius. Well, and you'd have a wonderful time. That's great. But at the same time, danger lurks. And the reason why is that Mars today is at the 29th degree of fate in Gemini, and it is exactly opposing the 29th degree of fate in your sign, Sagittarius, and Neptune in Pisces is squaring your sign as well. This is a time when you really need to put something under a microscope and take a look at the smallest details of something that somebody has been telling you about. It could be a tall tale. It could be something that has so many holes in it you should never believe them. So what you need to do with that microscope is look for facts and verify the facts. In other words, don't get caught up in somebody's sad tale of woe or somebody's poor me story. But right now, look just at the facts and dig deeper till you get all the facts, Sagittarius. Otherwise, somebody is about to take you for a fool. And yours is the sign of intelligence. You're not a fool. But you could fall for something that was pretty well targeted, or some sort of cleverly calculated messaging that is aimed right at you so that you do what somebody else wants, and it would be for their own selfish needs. It certainly wouldn't benefit you at all. So that is why you have to step back right now, and as I said, under a microscope, only look at the facts. If you don't have enough facts, go and find them and then still look at them. Because I would say that this is a time when if somebody hasn't tried to get something from you one way or another, they're about to try extra hard to do that before they finally give up. And you should step back and let them give up because it's not fair to you, Sagittarius. It would be on their terms, not on your terms. So you need to step back from something that seems like a true need. But I would say if they can't get what they want out of you, they will go find another sucker until they do get it. But just don't let it be you. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Capricorn. This is a time when you can feel as if you're really primed to go forward and sort of push your own agenda and be very practical. And you can have a lot of confidence in your own ability and in the things that you've quietly been working on over time that do prove to be pretty successful right now. You know, Capricorns tend to keep working on something till they get it right. Their ruler is Saturn, and that's what Saturn likes people to do. Well, it looks to me like you're coming into a time when you could be getting something right, really right, Capricorn, because all 4 planets in Taurus trine your sun. That is the sun, Mercury, Venus, and Uranus are trining your sun where you have Pluto. With 5 planets in earth signs, fortifying and supporting each other, it would seem to me, Capricorn, that this is a pretty good time for you to get support from others, and it could be financial support. So you could get a lucky financial break. You would not be involved in a broken promise or an unpaid debt, because that isn't the way Capricorns work. And so you don't need to worry about that. And you also may see a way, if you've been sort of saving methodically, you may see a way to afford something that you didn't think you could afford before because the price was too high. And prices are aspected to come down once we enter a period where somebody has to break a promise because they don't have enough money to repay a debt. That's going to actually lower the price of a lot of things because it's like a reality check. And so we have to sort of get back to basics after that happens. So Capricorn, I think if you wanted to buy something pretty expensive, I'm pretty sure you can afford it. You just have to ask yourself, should you do it this year or next year? And I would advise you to hang on to your money a little bit longer, Capricorn. Other things are too uncertain right now and too challenging with those 7 planets in fixed signs. So I would say you can be very sure of yourself, but not too sure of others. So I would not advance too much further right now. Just stay where you are. You're doing fine. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, this is a time that is sort of a do or die time for your future. And the reason why is that Mars is at that fateful 29th degree in Gemini, and it is trining Jupiter, your sign, at 27 degrees in Aquarius, and Saturn is in Aquarius as well. So Jupiter and Mars are very closely trining each other. That's a good aspect, Aquarius. And so that simply means that somebody has got to decide one way or the other pretty soon if they are going to join you in what new thing you want to do. Now, they may not join you. Mars is not a loving planet, and so they could sort of have their reasons for stepping back and not joining you in something. This shouldn't bother you, Aquarius, because this may be a very good time for you just to hold still. You could even hold still and shut your eyes if you wanted to. And the reason why is there's 7 planets in fixed signs, and they're all challenging each other. If you got up tomorrow morning and said to yourself, gee, I think I'm going to have a day when I can't please anybody, you would be right, Aquarius. There are just times when people who are strong in fixed signs can't get anywhere because they're being so challenged by other people in fixed signs. Well, that's happening now. So the moon in Leo is opposing your sun sign. So that means there can be somebody around that just wants to have fun, but you want to actually really concentrate on your future and be more serious. So there's indecision and confusion there. And then all 4 planets in Taurus are squaring Jupiter and Saturn in your sign. And that means that there can be some big money on the line somewhere, and whoever's got the big money is not necessarily interested in sharing it with you, Aquarius. So what are you going to do? Well, I think you should sort of step back and think of the long picture or the long goal that you have in mind. Think of something that even if it takes you the next 2.5 to 3 years, sort of going slowly and methodically and carefully, could you achieve it by the end of 2.5 or 3 years? Because if you could, you would be fantastically successful with it. So you really need to think long-term and only about your own future, Aquarius, and don't worry about anybody else pressing their point. Just sort of tune them out. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time when, once again, you can be quite charitable and very creative in your attitudes. You can have all kinds of really innovative ideas right now and be very charitable and loving as well, because your ruler Neptune is in your sign, which is great. But Mars is at the 29th degree of fate in Gemini, exactly square the 29th degree in your sign. Somebody who does not have your best interests at heart is going to challenge you or tell you something that's just unbelievable, Pisces. And so it is unbelievable. And that's where you ought to leave it and not believe them at all, Pisces. So I would say, you know, you're going to do a little better tomorrow when Mars moves into Cancer and then begins to trine your sun. There's a lot of, there's going to be a lot of tension about financial affairs coming up, particularly this summer and then again in November and December. And so when that tension arises, Pisces, you have a gentle nature. You don't like getting in the middle of financial arguments. You don't like getting in the middle of any arguments. And so I would say that this is a time when you need to just sort of cool off and do something creative, do something expressive. Neptune, you know, it hasn't been in your sign for many, many, many years. And once it leaves, it won't be back in your lifetime. This is when you should just express your feelings in many different ways, Pisces. So give yourself a chance, is what I'm saying. Just take a time out and give yourself a chance. And try not to listen to what other people are saying right now. Listen to the music within, and that will make you happy. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show and read our blog on our website, starborninstitute.org. Bye.